We got New Better Do Better here, your host, along with my co-host, KaliCosplay, the boss, the actual real mind behind this whole thing that we call Voices of Arda. This is episode 17, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if we call these ones episodes. These are reviews of episode 6 to the Rings of Power. So I'm gonna not say this is episode 7. I don't know.
I've been calling them special episodes.
Special episode.
Yeah.
We have a ton of guests with us who are going to talk about how they felt about the Rings of Power. We're going to let you know how I felt. We're going to let you know why I believe how Brand is Sauron. We'll get into that.
Yes. I'm going to let all of you introduce your wonderful selves. Let's start with, we have two Jareds. Let's start with the Jared with a 1 R.
Hello, I'm Jared with 1 R.
Lesser Jared.
Cat lovers for Huon on TikTok.
What's up, cat lovers, man? What's going on, man?
Hey.
Now Jared with 2 R's.
I'm Jared with 2 R's. That boy on fire on TikTok. And thanks for having me.
Right.
Also, and we have Cat Jet.
Yes, I'm Cat Jet. You can find me on TikTok with cat_jet. And I am with Scream Theory, where we also do reviews. So I'm very excited to be invited to this. And it's my first podcast.
Your shirt, your hoodie, by the way.
You love it or you hate it?
I love it. What you mean? What?
Girls represent.
That's from when I was a kid, man. Sailor Moon. Even though I ain't really like Sailor Moon like that, but just the nostalgia of it all.
Yeah, the only time you will catch me wearing pink ever.
You rocking it. You rocking it. You rocking it.
Thank you.
And we have the Golden Boy with us.
Yeah, my TikTok username is the Golden Boy, and I love Lord of the Rings, but it's like not my focus. My TikTok's usually about Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. Yeah, but I'm really excited to be on here because I still really do like Lord of the Rings a ton.
We're getting him where he needs to be.
I got the similarity now.
As soon as his passion for Lord of the Rings will surpass.
We'll see.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. Great to have you on. Always have really good conversations and interactions with you. And just for all you people out there who are wondering, Arthur Dayne will absolutely beat Aragorn in the fight. And I'm saying that publicly live. His skill is far too great for Aragorn to overcome. Experience or no, Numenorian abilities or no. Arthur Dayne is different, and he has Dawn, which is a crazy sword, which can cleave all iron and other metals and things.
Do the
like
best
that.
of male.
Yes, do the best of male. So Arthur Dayne is going to win, and this is something me and the Golden Boy have been talking about. And some people were in his comments and in his ear talking about, no, he's right. Aragorn beats everybody else in Game of Thrones, but not Arthur Dayne. Arthur Dayne's skill is just too great. He can fight crazy amounts of people, like it's ridiculous. He's a problem. And so is Aragorn, but not that much of a problem. Aragorn is not the best fighter in the Lord of the Rings. So I just want to say that. I think Turin Turambar versus Arthur Dayne is a better matchup, but that's a conversation for another time. Let's get back into why we're here.
Yeah, so this group is together because we do a lot of what are called lives on TikTok, where we just hop on camera and you can chat with whoever's online, and we go back and forth about originally it was Lord of the Rings stuff, but now we go everywhere because we're getting to know each other pretty well, and we talk about other fantasy series, we talk about life, we talk about versus battles. So
Sometimes Annex is just like talking to some chick he knew in the chat for an hour.
Oh my god.
You're out of pocket for that, Annex.
I remember that.
So definitely follow everybody here. I will put their links in the description of this video, and just come on to TikTok, join in on the chaos, and it's just lots of fun. So you'll get to see the sort of chemistry that we've built up between each other when we go back and forth on this episode 6. Whew, what an episode, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Want to start off with like number ratings, like out of 10?
Sure, give it to us.
I'm gonna say 9 out of 10 for me.
I gave it a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. I would say, yeah, 9.5 solid out of 10.
It's definitely the
I'm-
best episode so far.
Read
I got 8.
I'm
That's
saying
a
9
solid
out
8
of
out of
10.
10.
8 and 9.
It's-
All right.
Because I want to leave room for more excitement. If I say a 9 out of 10, that means that there's more to be had.
Good
I mean,
answer.
it could also mean that an episode is like a 12 and you can only give it a 10.
Oh,
So
could
we
be.
just, you know what I mean? So there's always room for that. But I really enjoyed this episode. I think it gave us the story development and the character development we've been looking for. It pushed the story forward in this episode, and that was really important for me. The pace picked up. There were, amazing fight sequences, and also like really touching moments where we got to understand characters' motivations and their background history, and that was everything. And then ultimately the end. We get the creation of Mount Doom or Druin. It was already or Druin, but it erupts, and we get the creation of Mordor as we know it, because fire and ash, baby, fire and ash. One does not simply walk into Mordor,
That was dope. Do you want to just get it off our chests and talk about the whole sword creating it thing?
Yeah, we
breaking
don't
the
have to go
dam.
in order at all. Let's just go with whatever inspires us.
Yeah, like I said, me and KnewBetta have already talked about this. I love the whole creating the Mordor thing, but our only problem with the episode, the only actual thing was the fact that it was kind of weird that they used the sword to break the dam. Why didn't they just break it manually? Why they have to go through all this extra work?
Yeah,
But
that was weird. But I'm gonna watch it back again and see if there's something I'm missing as far as what the sword exactly did to break the dam. And maybe it was just like the power of the sword did something special or something. I don't know, but I thought that was a bit odd. But I was so enamored with the rest of the episode that I just like, for the most part, I just was like, whatever. But when me and Golden Boy talked about it, we were like, yeah, that was weird. That I didn't love that part. But
I think it was a little misleading with like the statue on the wall or whatever. With like it looked like a sacrifice was imminent. Like they set that up to be like somebody is going to get sacrificed, and then there wasn't. You just put the sword in the rock. That was a little bit.
Well, he said it was a key, so I figured he's going to stick the sword somewhere. You know what I'm saying? I've seen enough mummy movies and Indiana Jones and shit like that to figure that. But you know what I'm saying? I can see where you would get that as well. So no, you're right.
I feel like that's what it was. Like you guys are saying, the sword was a bit much. Like maybe it wasn't validated, but I feel like the whole point of it was just it's MacGuffin. Like it's there, so we have the episode, so we have like the cool switch moment where Theo opens the cloth and sees that the sword isn't there. It's like I didn't mind it because of what the episode had ended up being.
Well, here's what went through my mind when I saw him sneak away to do that. Dams like that are usually maintained or checked in on by somebody. So if the orcs were to just go and break it, I think that there would have been a lot of people that tried to stop them. And in my mind, what I was picturing is that they would have anticipated that. So them going and actually putting the sword in and it being like a quick 1-2 moment made sense to me, just from that aspect, just thinking logistically, like how the dam was probably, at least guarded or maintained by somebody.
I got the scenes up on my right screen right now, and KnewBetta says like rewatching it. The one thing that I think may go in favor of it, when he turns the sword, it's not just like it breaks the dam open. The whole lake vibrates. So what I'm thinking, an excuse for it, maybe there's probably like this mountain is full of these water deposits and stuff, and the lake itself might not be enough water, and the sword straight cracks like the water deposits and stuff out of it, because the whole lake and mountain shakes with the sword.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it, but they don't really tell us that, so like I don't know.
It's interesting because you always wonder why Mordor in the later films was always covered in black skies. And now that we've seen this tunnel that they were digging and the water goes through it, that water didn't stop flowing. So it continues to just feed into that volcano, and that keeps the skies black for thousands of years. So that was kind of like a big connect moment where I was like, that's how they keep Mordor so dark in the later films.
That's a really good thought. Yeah.
As well. And then to even think of, I know this is going to sound like too modern, but the acidic rain that's going to come down, and it's a poisonous land, and that's one of the things that's probably poisoning it. It probably kills anything trying to grow. The ash, the dust from the air, like, we all know those famous lines from Boromir, "'Tis a barren wasteland, riddled with fire and ash." Like, so, even the water deposit that initially fell into Orodruin, there are fissures now that are going to be filled with lava flows and things like that. So from Orodruin erupting. So I think exactly what you said is right. That's how he keeps the darkness over Mordor. They made a land for the orcs and for Sauron to have a stronghold. Even though it was Adar who enacted that plan, it was initially Sauron's plan. Clearly, he had the idea to do that, and somebody was going to use that key to do that. So it all works in Sauron's favor, and I think that's really cool how they did that. Now Adar did it. Adar is going to be the main villain for this season, but ultimately everything is working out in Sauron's favor, which is very Sauron-esque. You're doing things for him that you don't even realize you're doing that benefit him. So I think that's awesome.
I think Adar will continue to be the villain into next season. After this eruption, he surely has gotten away. He has escaped from that room he was in, and he's, I think, going to maintain his being the main villain. I think. I don't think we're going to see Sauron still. Even if it's Halbrand, I don't think he will be revealed to be Sauron until next season.
I think the fandom will riot if we don't get any Sauron
say that.
at all. Not even like
a
blurry face view at the end of the last episode. If we don't even get that, oh my goodness.
I think that would be a mistake if they didn't at least reveal who it is.
Right. Speaking about
I think
Sauron, what'd you say?
I was just going to say that I think that we're a very small portion of the people watching this show, though. We're looking for Sauron. I don't think that it's like, to the layman viewer, they don't have an indication that somebody is secretly Sauron. We know that somebody could possibly be secretly Sauron, but we're a very small minority of people who know the lore.
I was going to say that I get that say, I'm sorry. You know how many people I get that say that can't be Sauron? He's a man. Sauron was this, and I'm like, he's a shapeshifter. He can change his form, and they didn't really even realize that. So,
I think that the big question for the normal viewers, the stranger is the big question, right? Like for us, it's this conversation every week of like, who's Sauron, and we're like gnawing on like nibbles that they're giving us on. Well, he said this, and like. Normal people probably don't even know there is something going on with Halbrand, by the way that they seem to be portraying it. But I think the stranger is the big question for everyone. The fact that everyone calls him the stranger. So I'm expecting an answer for him more than I am a reveal of if Halbrand is Sauron or not.
So one thing I want to point out is, so I have purposely not read the Silmarillion before this series. I read the Lord of the Rings books and the Hobbit books when I was in middle school. So I feel like I do kind of represent that group of people who are basically fans because of the films. And so watching this, I definitely feel like Galadriel has hinted enough about trying to find Sauron and his return, and that she's so fearful of it, that it is set up for us to wonder who Sauron is. speaking for that group of people who are like the normal people. I think you referred to them as
Normal people.
People who don't know the
Normal
deep
people.
lore.
Yes.
yeah,
normies.
so I
Like, what?
don't know the deep lore. I mean, I'm learning the deep lore a lot just from being involved with Kali and KnewBettaDoBetta's podcasts and not podcasts, but their TikTok lives. This is the first time I've been on a podcast, and I like that I'm kind of representing that group of people because I'm able to come in and say, well, we are wondering who the stranger is. Everybody thinks it's Gandalf, and I'm like, no, I know it's not Gandalf because we've already been learning from these groups of people who get together and talk about the lore, that there are several different options that we didn't even know existed because we haven't dove into the books. We don't even know the hierarchy of gods that exist because people who haven't read the books, they just don't know that. And so it's been really interesting because I feel like even normal people or people who are into the lore are going to be really disappointed if we do not find out who either Sauron is or either the stranger, one of the two. We need to at least know how they connect in the bigger picture. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because you could consider me as one of those normal people in your podcast that hasn't dove into the lore of the books. And I'm glad I haven't, because I want to be a voice for the people who aren't quite understanding it and be able to say to them, look, don't just hate on this because you don't understand it. You're going to catch on. There are things you can do to educate yourself, like jumping on one of these podcasts or joining one of these people's TikTok lives. There's tons of people breaking it down on YouTube. Or just go buy the book.
Go read the books. Yeah.
Can I bounce off that and say that I'm also someone who hasn't read Silmarillion, but not because I'm not trying to represent anyone. I'm just dyslexic, so it's the big book and it's hard to read. And I'm like, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, I'm just not gonna I'm listening to you guys talk about it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I would say like
audiobook
these
might help
days
you.
you don't even have to
I'm not
read
sure how
it.
you're learning this with that, but audiobook might help you.
I've listened to all of the other Lord of the Rings audiobooks with Andy Serkis's beautiful voice. I had to read The Hobbit and listen to The Hobbit at the same time because it just wasn't going either way. But yeah, I'm also on the level of like most of my love for Lord of the Rings does come from the films. And my mom grew up, she read me the books initially when I was younger. So that was my door into Lord of the Rings. But I kind of almost don't want to commit to like trying to learn it because I like just talking about it with like you guys, for example, and just seeing how much of it sticks.
Okay, cool. Hey, whatever works, man. That's what's up.
Whatever works.
I guess speaking about Sauron KnewBetta, we can go into this episode. What do you want to bring up as your more evidence for Halbrand being Sauron?
I mean, there was already an overwhelming amount of evidence to me as something, and it could be all red herrings. Now, I'm willing to say this could all be misdirection, and that is fine, and I'm completely fine with that. But going off of the evidence that they're presenting, it's very strong. So, in this episode in particular, we learned Adar says that Sauron was trying to heal the hurts of the world, be better and be good or whatever, and he didn't like that he was experimenting on orcs trying to do that. And, he loves the orcs and he said he killed Sauron, which we know is bullshit, but maybe he thinks he did. So Sauron would have a reason to be very upset with Adar. Same thing. Adar took the orcs that he had remaining and from the Frodwaith and came down. And it says that he traveled over the arid Mithrin and which are the Gray Mountains in the north, and he comes down. So literally, that path of travel goes to Mordor, where he was saying. So I think he took his orcs and he abandoned and went down to the Southlands. Halbrand has come down to the Southlands, claims to be king. He says he got these thing off a dead man when Galadriel asked him. Funny. He's looks at the smithing and he's like enamored. He kind of looks into the camera like, you know what I mean? It was weird. He's the king of the Southlands, but he's obsessed with smithing. Sauron is like one of the main students of the smith god Aule. He's a creator. He's always creating something. He's known as the Admirable, Myron. He is excellent at creating things. So that was very telling. His skill is uncanny in everything he does. When he flipped up the sword, when Galadriel was teaching the Númenóreans how to fight, and she looked at him sideways and was like, okay, I didn't know a blacksmith's apprentice that could do that. That was very telling. It was very telling when he walked into Númenor and said, men such as me build kingdoms such as this. Men like me build since when? It was more like he was talking in the third person. Like he was so surprised that men in general could build something like this. He was not aware of it. And he was very enamored with it. And he was like, this could be a problem, or this is cool, or, you know what I mean? Depending on his motivations, which we found out later. So that was very telling. Extremely telling how he seemed to talk his way out of that fight. Very Sauron-esque. And then when he had to fight, how cruel he was to the people he was fighting. Very Sauron-esque.
In the alleyway?
In the alleyway.
Yeah,
very
that was
cool.
brutal.
Then Galadriel was talking to him, and the way he's talking to Galadriel, somebody who's extremely wise, even though they have her playing a very focused and headstrong character right now, and just is going after Sauron. An average person couldn't bend her will like how Halbrand did, and gave her perspective as to how to get what she wants from someone. It was just very telling. And then in that same vein, send her to something to her benefit, but then him get benefit out of something by telling Pharazôn, hey, this is how you can get her without breaking a sweat. And then he's let out of jail because of it and received the trust of Pharazôn and the Númenóreans. So he's just very manipulative, and he's just too slick for his own good. Very Sauron-esque. Sauron will help you and then hurt you in the long run. He helps you first. Like when he was creating the Rings of Power, he helped them create many great works first. So they absolutely trusted him and were given something to hold on to. And then it ultimately led to him benefiting the most out of all that time spent, all the knowledge given is always for his benefit. When he comes to Númenor as a prisoner, within 3 years, he's the king's #1 advisor, and he taught them many great things. But ultimately, the advice he gives and the things he implements leads to their downfall and his rise, and to his benefit, that now his greatest obstacle is out the way. And this is sort of some like reconnaissance, even though he might be there by accident. You know what I'm saying? And then the way he's talking to Adar, he's like upset at Adar. But if Adar had killed him, his parents or his children or his wife, he would have just said that. You did that. That's a very human thing. Adar asked him, who are you? He wouldn't know that that's Sauron, because Sauron can shapeshift. And he won't answer. And he's like, you don't know what he did. But at the same time, he's still doing what Adar said he was doing, trying to be good. And he's kind of like fighting with himself, which Halbrand is also fighting with himself. Like, yo, I want to pay penance for something I did. He never says what it is. If it was that bad, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they had already established, plenty of men did bad things. So it wouldn't be out of the question for him to just tell Galadriel. We already established the men of the South worship Morgoth, and that was a whole theme going forward, Arondir and Bronwyn and all that. So what would be the difference of him just saying, hey, I used to worship Morgoth, I've changed. But this is, hey, I killed your brother type shit. I don't want to tell you. I want to be, repentant. I actually served Morgoth and did his dirtiest work. I think he wants to be forgiven. He seeks repentance when he was at the end of the First Age, after the War of Wrath, he went to Eonwe and seeks forgiveness. Eonwe said, I can't give you that. We're the same order. You have to ask the Valar. Only reason he didn't, he was scared he'd have to like pay pittance by like serving them like a long, being locked up for a long time. And he wasn't willing to do that. So he fled back to Middle Earth. And then eventually he fell back into evil ways. So right now he might not be doing that. It all falls in line. It all seems to make perfect sense. And especially his behaviors. Like he's this great fighter and all this stuff. It doesn't make sense. The men of Middle Earth at this time lived backwards and are behind and are not wise and great masterminds and great this, that, and the third. The Númenóreans actually helped them advance themselves. You can look at every other character in the Southlands and say, with the exception of Bronwyn, none of them are too wise or smart or anything. They're not doing anything special. Bronwyn certainly isn't doing anything special except leading well. She's not like some kind of great smith or anything like that. They're very normal people. The Númenóreans are far more advanced, and this is why they bring knowledge and things to the people of Middle Earth, because they're living like people in the Dark Ages. They have an advanced far, and then eventually they start usurping their natural resources and them as labor or whatever the case may have you. But Halbrand seems to be so far ahead of that and opposite of that. I don't even think that he is somebody from the Southlands. He is disguised as someone from the Southlands. And you can look at everyone who interacts with him and they kind of look at him sidelong and they're like, that's weird that you did that. But they always just kind of just fleet it off. And they just ignore their natural feeling. A lot of people are saying, why doesn't Galadriel sense him? Galadriel's so focused on finding Sauron right now, she's not paying attention. But she notices shit, but she just says it real quick, and then she just kind of shakes it off and goes about her business, which is very in line with what somebody who is just headstrong and trying to do one thing. They're very focused and has tunnel vision right now. And we'll see the growth of her. So
the Galadriel and Halbrand relationship. So one of my things that I don't want to say I'm not a fan of because I don't know yet, but like with episode 6, at the end, I couldn't tell if they were trying to make like a kind of romantic thing with her and with Galadriel and Halbrand. I wasn't sure what they were going for with that conversation, where they were talking about how
I was trying to figure that out too.
Yes,
Yeah,
I was
like,
like, please don't be, but I was like, I feel like this is.
I don't want it to be. It feels
I
a little
didn't
weird.
actually get that impression, to be honest.
Really?
Like what else?
I didn't really think.
What else could you get out of that? Like, please give me something else to feel about that.
Please.
I think they're just like, I just saw it as them like they both apparently lost a bunch of crap. They're both super pissed at the situation. I just don't really see that as romantic. I see them as like they see each other almost, or at least pretending. Halbrand is pretending to understand.
See, I want to agree, but it was the line where Halbrand is like, I've not felt this way fighting with someone in so long, and she's like, I felt it too, and I was just kind of like, don't do this.
I don't remember.
I think that if Halbrand is truly Sauron, then I think that he's not lying. I think that he is honestly trying to be different, which I don't think I like if they're taking it that direction. But I just feel like Halbrand is being pretty real. There's like a scene in like the 3rd episode or maybe the 4th episode where he is alone contemplating like the moral decision of whether or not to go with the Númenóreans or not, because Galadriel has signed him up against his will, and he has this kind of moral dilemma. And so when he actually gets on the boat, he's not doing it to prove to anybody, because he's alone in that room when he's considering his choice. So I just get the impression that he seems to be fairly honest with what he's doing here, running away. And I don't think Adar is lying either. I think Adar truly thinks that he killed Sauron.
Yeah.
And this Halbrand guy, if he's Sauron, I think they might be trying to give him like a redemption arc that will fail in the end, obviously.
Yeah, but
I don't think it's a grift.
That is in line. That's in line. They think that he really, you know what I'm saying? Sauron's motivations are the key. So Morgoth's motivation is jealousy and hate, and just he wants to destroy everything. Sauron's motivations are very different. Sauron doesn't want to destroy anything. Sauron wants order. Sauron wants things to be perfect.
And Adar says that.
It's how he goes about it. is his choice, and he can change what he did, and he tries to repent for what he did, but then he ends up falling back into evil ways.
Yeah, but
So
I don't think
that's
he's
in
been trying
line.
to. I don't think he's been trying to trick Galadriel into installing him as king in the Southlands. I don't think so.
No.
I think this
and
is
that's
really
even
kind
more,
of against what he wants.
that's
Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's even more of a sign to me, because it's not like he wanted to do that. That I don't think that was his plan. He's like, what? Like,
Well, but he
you know
would
what
have
I
had
mean?
to. But he would have had the plan with the sword and the volcano, anyways. Like that was already
Yes.
set up, and Adar is following through on that plan.
Yes,
But
because he was Sauron.
Yeah.
His symbol is on the sword, so that's
Yeah.
been set. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but now he didn't want anything to do with this, I think.
I
At this
think
So
though,
he's-
I think now it's clicking though, because at first, remember they say, are you the king that was promised? And at first, like he's hesitant. He doesn't, and
I was
all of a
just
sudden,
gonna bring
ding,
this
ding,
up.
ding, light bulb. I think a light bulb goes off in his head. He's like, I can do something with this. And then he smiles like, yes. And I think
But no one
now he's turning
reacted
devious.
when he said that.
Hmm.
It was like, you know, they find out that he's this king and no one really reacted.
I will say
was-
that whether he's Sauron or not, the people don't know. And so it was a little strange, I think, to me, that everyone just kind of accepts like this colonialism that has just occurred. Like Numenor just rides over, and then they're like, here's your new king, everyone. And they're like, yay!
Yay!
Oops,
So-
we did
To be fair,
colonialism.
it seems
that's
like-
not colonialism, because he is from the Southlands, and the symbol is like, it's the same thing with Aragorn returning to Gondor. It's not colonialism. He's originally in the
Sure.
line of kings from there. So
I found the
he
symbol
had to
thing
show
weird.
proofs. He had to show
Sorry.
proofs that he was of that line. The proof
Yeah.
that he has is that symbol. They're like, oh, he's our rightful king. It's not
Sure.
like Muriel said, I'm your queen now. That would have been
Yeah.
colonialism.
Sure, yeah.
I
But
found the symbol thing a
nobody really
little-
knows him though. And Bronwyn is
like-
the one who's been leading these people. So to me, it just felt really just strange that everyone's just like, oh, cool, this new guy we've never
We're
met
just
is our king now. Great.
accepting.
Yeah, very overly accepting, I feel like. But yeah, it's fine.
Bronwyn's like excitement for it was kind of like when she clocks the little symbol, and she's like, "Oh shit, you're the guy."
Sure.
And I was like, but even Halbrand told Galadriel in like episode 3, like, I just stole this off dead guy. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think there should be a conversation here where we go like, are you really the guy though? Like,
Yeah.
are you actually him? We just need to
From what
check
we've
before
seen,
we-
the
before we-
Southlands-
Honest to a point of lying. Like, it's weird. Like, when you read, he'll tell you the truth, and it'll be a lie at the same time. Or it'll be like the truth with the trick. Like, it's like it's very reminiscent to you know what I'm saying?
When
like those,
Gorthauer told Gorlim that he would
Yeah.
reunite him with his wife,
he
like
wasn't lying.
Oof.
it wasn't lying. He just already
He
killed her, and
wasn't
then he killed
lying.
Gorlim.
Yeah, so like it's like it's a trick. Like, it's very reminiscent of that. Like, so I that was an excellent analogy you used, and that's where the vibes I'm getting off him. And this is just like my opinion. I said this before in the live, and I'll say it again. If it turns out that Halbrand is not Sauron, I'm 100% okay with that. I'll actually be really excited, because I know I could be wrong, and these could be red herrings. I'm 100% okay if it's not, because that would mean that they're doing a great job of tricking the shit out of somebody like me or whoever else thinks that. I think that'd be really cool, actually. But I'm just going off of my thought processes. I'm trying to analyze things and looking at things that I know from the lore and how Sauron is, who is my favorite character. So him and the Witch King are my favorite characters. So I'm really looking for things that are Sauron-esque, Witch King-esque.
Yeah.
Like, Witch King was a sorcerer. So when people say Halbrand, I don't get that vibe from him. I'm getting the vibe from Theo. He wants power. Can he do to obtain that power? That sword is a magic sword. Clearly, he's going to become a sorcerer. He's going to become the Witch King type shit. That's what I'm looking at. You know what I'm saying? Oh, is he the King of the Dead? Absolutely not. The King of the Dead is from Dunharrow, from the White Mountains near Dunharrow and the Dwimmerberg, which is far away near Edoras. You know what I'm saying? Like, and those people are descended from the Dunlendings, who are descended, also partially descended from the lady Haleth, the people of Haleth. So that's nothing to do with the Southlanders, who are descended from the Easterlings. There's two separate people. So these are things that I take into account as somebody who knows the lore. And they're like, well, did they migrate? They're not the same people. So absolutely, I don't think that it would make any sense for him to be the King of the Dead. You know what I'm saying? So these are just things that I'm thinking about. And then we have people like Kat and who doesn't know the lore at all. And then, you know, she's like, well, I'm seeing it this way. And I'm so grateful for stuff like that because it gives me a fresh perspective from a show view point of view. I'm looking at a book point of view and lore point of view, where she's like, well, I didn't read, and this is what I'm getting, which is something different and fresh, and it could change your opinion and stuff like that. So I try to take all angles that I can and see what makes sense and fit it together and stuff like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I feel like too that I've really appreciated watching in this series, no matter how I felt about an episode or not, is Isildur's journey. And in episode 6, when he was with his father and he was having issues with Brecken, his horse, you know, and his father came up and was instantly able to calm his horse. And he was like, I learned this from your mother. There was so much emotion that came through in that moment. And I really feel for Isildur because they're really showing how much of a vulnerable human he really is. Because we all know what he ends up doing. We know what he ends up doing, and everyone could paint him off as just this person who's been inherently a jerk and decided to, you know, take the ring and then not destroy it in the movies. It's like, no, I mean, he's went through his own trauma. He's still going through a lot, and seeing his story arc has been really awesome for me.
yeah.
I think, you go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up Galadriel now because we just started speaking about her, and a lot of people have had problems with her, right? People have been like complaining about almost the flatness of her character. I want to say at the beginning of the episode with the Isildur, I thought we really saw like Galadriel without the hate. I thought that was like that was Galadriel at the beginning talking to Isildur with like her how kind she was, the lines of her voice. You know, I loved that part of it.
Yeah, no, this
I
episode
agree.
brought the action, but it gave us some excellent conversations as well. Galadriel and Isildur, Bronwyn talking to Theo, you know, giving him courage through his old childhood, you know, nighttime story. We finally got the Arondir and Bronwyn moment. I don't know if anybody in here is as excited about that. For that was a yes.
I was
It
excited
cut
about
away.
that.
No.
They
It
needed
cut
to
away from the
stop.
kiss though. Like right when they kiss, it like zooms out. No,
But we
no,
know
no,
they
no,
do.
no.
They
Yes.
needed to kiss. They were pawing at that too much. It was like, all right, kiss already. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like they were
hot
pawing
take,
at that.
I
Too
don't
much.
I wanted a
feel-
close up on the kiss.
I don't feel those.
You wanted
two-
more kiss.
Yeah.
I don't feel Arondir and Bronwyn too much. If I'm being like
No.
me personally, I think when they kissed, I didn't have that moment of like, finally, I had that moment of like, I don't know if I actually care that much. That's just me though.
I think
Well, I
that
don't
they
wanna-
have had a very weak relationship up until this episode. I think
Agreed.
this episode is the first time where I feel like they actually know each other. Whereas
Yeah.
everything in the past has just been kind of like
It was-
really
it was-
surface level.
Yeah.
Like they're just kind of
Yeah.
telling the audience that they're in a relationship without
I feel
actually
like that with
showing the
all of them.
audience.
I feel like that with all pretty much, unless it's the Harfoots or the dwarf storyline.
Mhm.
I think that this is the first episode where Arondir and Bronwyn, Galadriel and Halbrand, Isildur and Elendil, like all of those characters, I was like, whoa, this is the most human you felt. This is the most like real you guys have felt. Like Golden Boy said, the scene on the boat, the scene with the horse, like there was so many moments where I thought like, oh, this is, I feel like it's kind of been missing from the show so far.
Mhm.
That's just me though.
That's also
Arondir is
me.
my favorite character, so
He's so
to
cool.
see that
He's so
between them,
cool.
Yeah,
like,
he's a good character. Yeah, he's doing an amazing job, and he even tweeted the other day, "It's all been worth it after episode 6 because now he's receiving the praise he deserves." And a lot of people just had to wait to get the the wheels turning like they needed to be. And even we've said there's patient issues with the show and things like that. So I'm so glad this episode came out where people can kind of just be like, all right, this is what we've been waiting for, and hopefully they keep up that pace and that same character development in the next 2 episodes, and the haters can go sit and spin because they're wrong.
Oh man, I hope they don't keep up this pace because I was barely breathing during this episode. Like, if every episode is exciting as this last one, I don't know if my heart is going to make it.
That's what we're here for, man. I feel like the last 3 episodes, when I think about the show as a whole now, it's like the first 2 episodes for me were like super strong. And it might have been just because it's all very new, but like the first 2 episodes were like dope. And then the next 3 like really slowed it down. And then by the last episode, I was kind of like, okay, like pick up the pace because we need something to happen. And they did that. They picked up the pace quite a bit.
How'd you guys think of the battle itself? I was afraid they were gonna treat it like some Home Alone style, you know, that they set up a bunch of little traps and the orcs just get there. But no, they didn't. They had that little trap at the beginning that was kind of smart, gave them some time to shoot some arrows into the orcs, and then they show that they sent the humans at them first just to like soften them up, and that was great.
Yeah, that's a morale killer too. That was a morale killer. So it was I could say it's reminiscent, but like the orcs are cruel. And one thing in Minas Tirith, they did in the Battle of the Pelennor Fields was they launched the heads of the victims of Asclepius over the walls, and that is like a morale killer. And to have you find out, hey, you just killed your own people, even though they joined our side, you just killed your own people. They're like, oh my God, we just killed all our own. That now when the second attack comes, they're much more apprehensive. It's not they're like they're it took the fight right out of them, and now they really need that help that Numenor did. Well, because before that, they might have would have won. They was on it. The villagers ran out with their little spears and their pitchforks and whatever the case, and they were putting in pain. They were putting in a lot of work, and then it took the wind right out their sails, and then there was no coming back after that. And they needed that saving. You know what I'm saying? So let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. How the hell did they have so many horses on those boats? Cargo.
I was wondering the same thing. I was like, where did the horses come from?
I think those boats are pretty small.
On episode 4, they were loading the horses onto the boats.
Yeah.
They do make a point with the little horse.
There's the bottoms of those boats are huge. They just put them in the cargo hold.
Yeah, I'm looking at the scene right now. I need to count.
Out of all the nitpicks, I didn't even think of that one. Like I have a couple of nitpicks this episode, but that wasn't one of them.
That is one of mine. It's not that there's horses on the boats. It's just that the boats don't look big enough to house 100 people plus 100 horses per person on each boat. They just don't look big enough to me.
Now that you've said it, I can't get it out of my brain.
I understand that you can transport horses on boats across an ocean. Like that's reasonable. Yeah. These boats, they just don't look big enough to me.
Just made the boat bigger. One of my nitpicks.
It's a small nitpick.
You gotta admit though, it was badass watching them run.
It was cool. It was
totally
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It was worth it. If they friggin' teleported the horses, I don't care. It was dope.
They found them.
Like I'm trying to defend it, but I can definitely see anybody. Like I'm just kind of joking. Like it does look kind of crazy. Like it is what it is. But yeah. I mean, there's what can you do? Everything's not going to be perfect and explained perfectly and. Whatever they did,
but one of the bits
that I didn't. In there. It was probably animal cruelty.
We don't need to justify it like that.
I did like it that it showed the one horse, Adar's horse, that just gets up and walks away, like really casually.
Yeah, they did make a point of like he's okay, he's fine. Don't worry about it.
Fine.
But like one of my other nitpicks was that the moment where they find out they've been killing their own people. Great moment. I thought like cool. Why didn't they just take the helmets off? I don't know. When the people got there dressed as orcs, surely you would take the helmet off and go, I'm not an orc. Like, don't.
No, they were willingly fighting them.
Those are the people that went over to at our side.
I personally could have done with a scene that showed I don't know. I guess I didn't clock it. Maybe
the people's dedication to Sauron that they want to go and fight. Yeah, I agree.
Waldreg said we're going to go join them because that's what Adar requested. That's what he told Arondir to tell them. and the ones
Yeah.
that left with Waldreg went over to his side.
But the ones that left with him, that was my issue last episode as well. That scene didn't feel like we're gonna go and fight with the orcs. It felt like okay, I guess we'll go with this guy then. And then when they get to Adar, and Adar makes Waldreg kill the kid with the machine gun Kelly haircut, it was like a moment of them going, oh shit, this is not what we thought it was. Or that's what it felt to the audience, at least, like, oh, this is really bad. And I
When it's
didn't
done
think
out of
that
fear,
like, yeah, I can
rationalize
buy
that
it.
with
I just wish there was another scene.
rationalize it with fear. So it's not like they wanted to. It's not like only Waldreg wanted to serve Sauron. The rest of them were like, this is better than getting killed here, man. We just got to go do this.
Well,
I'm
that's
scared.
what I'm saying. Well, like, that's what I thought it was. So when they do go back, because they're scared and they're just fighting because they've been told to, but then they see that they're losing. If I was in that fight, I would have simply just taken my helmet off and gone, I'm not an orc. Like, I'm sorry, but it's fine. It was
Check
just
this out though. So if your man's went to go fight with the enemy and they come back and take off their helmet and be like, sorry, are you going to be like, oh, it's cool now, it's cool, just come over here?
Well,
I'd
based
do
on
that
their
rather
reaction
than-
after they learned that they killed them, then yes,
They might
that
don't
would be
want
what
to
they
kill
would
him.
do.
Though. They might don't want to kill him, but they're not going to be open arms in the midst of battle. And
It
be
might
like,
not be
"Oh,
mutual."
All right, come on over. That doesn't, you know what I mean? You got to think about stuff like that. Like, it's not. It's they might don't want to kill their own people, but they at the same time in the midst of battle, they're not going to be like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it that you just betrayed us before. Just come on over here. It's not as simple as that, and that's why it had to wait till after they were dead already for them to be like, I wish I didn't kill my own people.
We saw no
war.
hesitance from them too. There was no hesitance from the disguised humans when fighting. We didn't
Sure.
no, so like they were willing to kill their neighbors. All right, even if it's disturbing for the people when they figure it out, they were still willing to try and kill them as well, like the other side. So
Yeah. Again, I really could have done with like just one scene showing, even just a scene of the orcs handing out weapons to the humans and the humans being like, all right, yeah, we're doing this. Like, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they put that. But either way,
I think
it's not
that would
bad.
take away from
Fair
like
enough.
the surprise
But
though.
obviously that ruins the plot
Yeah.
twist. So that to me,
Yeah.
it just felt like a moment that was like plot twist. But if you think about it too much, it takes a bit to it. Like, I don't know. It is what it is.
So I have a question about the stranger when he was sticking his arm into the water.
This
And
is
it was-
episode 6. The strangers in episode 5. That was
Let her ask a question.
Well, I mean,
I'm just joking.
Yeah. It was something that I guess we hadn't cleared up. We can talk about that on TikTok Live, but
She's
I just
got
want
a
you to
list
know,
of
you looked at
questions
me
from
like
all
you
the
wanted to kill
episodes.
me
She's
just
been
now.
waiting for this moment all her life just to
Like,
ask you these questions.
motherfucker, I'm going to kill you. You gave me a look of death just now. I was just playing. You were like, I don't like him now. I'm just joking. I'm just playing.
no, I think I had a moment where I was like, "You're right. That is episode 5."
I just like, I joke like that with everybody all the time. Like, I'll say some crazy shit. I'm like, we don't even like Kali. Like, I don't even know why she's here. Like, and she knows I'm joking, so she doesn't even go
Maybe
for
as a
it.
troll.
But I had you a little bit. But you scared the shit out of me. You just scared the shit out of me with that look.
Because I'm
took my
innocent.
What was the question? What was the question?
Well, it's my bad because I honestly did think that was happening in the beginning of episode 6. But when the stranger sticks his hand in the water and it all starts to freeze, what was he doing?
Playing with it.
I mean, we don't super know. There's nothing like in the lore that explains that scene necessarily, but I think he's just trying to heal himself with his
Yeah, he hurt
magic
his
that
arm.
he clearly has. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
he
I
was trying
could
to, like-
freeze water like that, I would do it all the time.
He wasn't
I
in
would
full
just find
control
a
of his
puddle
powers.
and-
So I think he just automatically was like, oh, I'm doing this. And then it got out of hand. He didn't know how to fully control it. So I thought
Yeah.
that was pretty cool, showing that he's not all the way there yet. We know when the wizards come over, they kind of got to piece information together. They don't know exactly their own names. They can't remember everything. You know what I'm saying? And they have to go around gathering information about everything that's going on and stuff like that. And then they become who they are, but it is not exactly right when they arrive. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that's cool. I think this is a cool way of saying, hey, they come over, they're confused, they don't know what's going on, and they're like, getting a hang of their powers and their abilities, and they're always going to keep learning. The wizard means wise man, so they're going to literally just be like learning and gathering information and learning lore, and then they bits of information very similar to like Wolverine, memories start coming back and things like that. I know it was a
Are you
weird.
saying the stranger is Wolverine?
I'm saying the stranger is Logan. That is what I'm
Okay,
saying.
I subscribe to that theory.
I apologize for bringing up an episode 5 moment. Like I said, I for some
No, it was
reason
a joke. You could bring up episode 1. It's
of
fine.
episode
Just
6.
playing. Absolutely great. Ask any question you want. I was just playing with you, just joking. Ask about episode 1. Ask about the Lord of the Rings, the movie. Doesn't matter what it is. Anything you want to talk about, we could talk about.
No worries. And hey, usually when people tease me, that just means they like me. So
That's what Callie says. That's what Callie says. She's wrong. She's wrong, but
that's what I tell myself.
This podcast is getting too sad. Let's bring it back.
How did everybody feel? So this episode was, I would say, considerably more gory than what we've seen before from this show and really Lord of the Rings ever. I don't remember feeling that sense of like grossness and also terror. The scene where the orc is getting really close to Adondir's eye with the and that just went on for so long. Oh my gosh. And I wasn't breathing. When I say that, I mean,
they launched the decapitated heads of the fallen soldiers of Ascleia over the walls of Minas Tirith.
Yeah,
but with Callie's point though, I don't think it was
didn't get to me like this one did.
His eyeball socket bleeding all into Arandir's mouth.
It was like
a little bit more gory.
It was
I guess
gross.
me being a big Game of Thrones fan and stuff, I'm used to it. All right, so like to be honest, this is kind of mild almost, like compared to some stuff. So like I don't have a problem with it, but I can understand this being a wake up call, like a little bit of a for like Lord of the Rings fans, because we didn't get to see a lot of this before.
For me, the wake up call was Halbrand's fight.
So
what'd you say?
The war in Aravion is going to be tough, and we remember what happens to a certain someone. So I think we should numb ourselves.
You're saying I should get used to it.
We should get used to it because that is going to happen. So,
see, I thought this episode was less gory. Like it was bloody. It was very bloody, and to me, it felt a little tacky. I think they pushed it a little too much. It felt like they just learned to use like blood packs, and it was. But I understand the point, because the whole point is it's supposed to be the twist, right? Where they touch the red blood and they're like, oh my god, humans, and they make a point of pouring all the black orc blood into Arandir's mouth, and it was tense for the first like 30 seconds. And then I was like, the guy was basically drinking it. Like, stop.
It was pouring.
Here, having thoughts run through my head. Like, is this gonna secretly turn him into an orc?
Like vampires bleed on people or something. Like
I really did appreciate the fight with Arandir and that orc. I thought that was the best choreographed fight in the show, and like. But if you compare it to Peter Jackson movies, I thought that fight was amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. These orcs are not no pushovers. I like that.
Yeah, that orc, bro. The fact that he literally just ate that knife in his freaking eye, and then he even pulled it out, and then Arandir pulled it out, and he's like, "Oh, thanks for pulling it out for me." He grabs it and then turns it on him. So like that orc was messing him up.
Aragorn was fighting with, I think his name was Lurtz.
Lurtz, yep.
Oh yeah. Pulls.
Yeah, he just pulls the knife out and licks it. Like, come on, like we know the vibes.
I don't think for me that scene was as good as the one from like that episode 3 scene.
Which one?
Where was episode 3 the one with the chains and when they're fighting to get out?
I prefer this one to be honest.
I prefer this one, yeah.
That one felt a little weird.
Stay on.
Yeah,
I like the elves in that one.
I really liked that scene from episode 3 is what made me fall in love with Arondir. I was like, this guy's a
Same.
badass.
Same.
He's, like he's got it all going on. But what happened in episode 6 for me was very much like, yes, we're jumping into the thick of it. Like, this is gonna be hardcore heavy, kind of like what Golden Boy said about like it being a Game of Thrones, it's something you could compare to a mild Game of Thrones episode. It's just, it was phenomenal. I watched it.
They do a very good job in the show of showing the elves' weightlessness, and like in the Peter Jackson ones, I never loved, like they show the scene of like Legolas walking on top of the snow and stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's cool, but in this, like the way Arendelle like flips around, there's a bit during that fight when he's fighting the orc, and he like just bounces off a wall and flips over it, and I'm like, it's not too much like the again, the scene from the movie where Legolas like
parkouring off
onto
falling
the horse.
rocks.
Yeah.
All
So
those
yeah, I was going to
rocks,
bring that
like,
up as well.
those
So
scenes,
anybody
it's not as goofy.
who's going to talk shit about Galadriel and how she was riding a horse, people can actually do that in real life.
I
Whereas
love
they
that.
can't run up falling stones like Legolas
There's
did.
apparently the Crow tribe, there's stories of some of their warriors being good enough to where they could go upside down, like they fall upside down kind of off the side. They don't fall off the horse, but they can shoot their bow and arrow upside down. I don't know about if that's true or not, but allegedly there are
People
some
can do
people
that.
who are able to do that.
Yeah.
People are able to do that. I've seen, people like certain archers trained to ride horses a certain way, and they're able to do all kind of go ride sideways and do all this crazy stuff on the horses like that. People actually doing this, so it's definitely possible. Whereas people will shun it and be like, why is Galadriel doing this, but then they'll co-sign Legolas sliding down a shield on a thing and shooting arrows and running up falling rocks that are suspended in the, like, what are you talking about? He's literally doing crazy things. And the way
I don't think
jumps
anyone
on the
defends that
horse-
scene.
The way
That's
he
true.
jumps
I
on
don't
the
think
horse
anyone-
in the Two Towers is the most ridiculous thing you ever seen, but everybody
Yeah.
goes for it because it's Legolas, and it's like, be fair. Galadriel's far stronger and better than Legolas. It's not
The
close.
scene in
So
episode 1 where she jumps on the sword and they throw her on the sword.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw a lot of people clowning that, and I was like, this is what I want. Like, I want cool over the top elf scenes because that's what elves
But
do.
not slow motion running up rocks. Yeah.
I don't need slow motion running off rocks, but I need again, the way that they showed Galadriel and Arondir in this,
The teamwork.
it's not too on the nose for me. Like you guys said, it is, the things they're doing aren't impossible. They feel a little elevated compared to everyone else. It's not so much the fact that she's hanging off the side of the horse. It's the fact that like she does it so quickly and then like whips back on. It's just, I think they're doing a very good job of showing the elves.
it was dope. She slices the orc in half. That like it wasn't even there, and keeps on riding. She has a purpose and she's going for it. You know what I'm saying? Like Legolas climbs up arrows that are in an elephant, and
I love that
All
too.
right.
but it's just, let's be fair. If we're gonna do, if we're gonna call out one,
Yeah,
call
it's
out
the
the
double
other.
standard.
You know what I'm saying? It's the double standard for me, and it's really like telling, like, you just want to hate this because if she's an elf, it's actually practical for her to if Legolas can walk on snow, which he does, absolutely walk on top of the snow, then Galadriel is absolutely light enough to jump off of a sword and do that. It makes way more sense and is way more practical for her to do that than Legolas to be doing any of the shit that he's doing. So the shit she's doing is actually practical. She probably could do that in real life. A regular human probably could do those things. Whereas Legolas is absolutely not. And we're talking about elves. They're not real humans, so they definitely should be able to do it. But running up the fallen rocks is bullshit.
All right, so getting towards the end of the episode, does anybody have comments or questions on the pretty pivotal conversation that Galadriel had with Adar?
It's exactly it's what I was anticipating. People were thinking it was he was going to be like Maglor or like Aol or something, and no, it's him being the father of these orcs is exactly what I thought that was going to be. And I loved it.
Yeah, KnewBetta was spot on. This is a tortured elf, one of the first orcs.
Yeah,
I remember. So like, I thought, yeah, spot on. Yeah, I really like that whole thing. And obviously it's kind of I feel like he should be a little bit smarter. I feel like he would know he can't just kill Sauron like that.
Yeah, that was
Especially,
just a little.
but he seems competent enough to be the leader of all these orcs, so you don't know.
I think
I think
the
he's
way
cute.
we're gonna see what happens between Adar and Sauron, and it's gonna show us that he really believes that he killed him. He must have
Yeah.
did something where he really believed that he killed him, but like
You just said I
It's
sliced
Sauron.
him open. I'm
Do
like,
you think we're gonna get like a full-on flashback?
I think we are. I think that's the only way that it makes
I would
sense
like that.
to
That
tell
would
the
be very
story.
cool.
Something like
Yeah.
he's gonna, because we're gonna see it, and it's gonna be really cool. Hopefully, if they don't drop the ball,
That
that'd be
scene
dope,
made
but,
me really appreciate Adar as like a. I just liked that he's like, I killed Sauron, and these are my kids, and I really love them, and they're my kids, and I just
you
thought like,
understand him, and you kind of agree
Yeah.
with at least that of it. You know that the orcs are evil, but you're like, yo, man, he's doing this for a righteous reason. You know, so he's not going about it the right way, but I understand it, and it makes sympathy for a villain. It always makes the villain greater.
Mhm.
and for all the orcs as well. When Galadriel says like I can't remember the line, but she basically says like they're just monsters, and he says like
You're
they
like,
have a beating
damn,
heart. They
Galadriel.
have, yeah, but then he's just like they have a beating heart. They have personalities. They have brothers and sisters. Why do they not get, why are they being treated like just monsters to be killed by Galadriel? And it almost made Galadriel seem worse in that scene, which I appreciated. Where like you just said, you're like, Jesus Christ, man, chill.
And he calls
she's
her
like, I'm
out
gonna
on it,
kill them
too.
all. Yeah, very cool.
I want to
I-
know how Adar escaped. That was I don't know why I was really hung up on that, but I was like, how did he get out of there?
Out of where?
Out of the barn that they were keeping him in when
Oh yeah.
the volcano had went off.
Wait, does it
One of
show
his-
him escape?
no, he's just
It
gone.
It
shows, like,
shows that there's nothing left. Like it shows
Oh.
empty chains. Because I had paused in on that,
Oh.
zoomed in, and he's gone. He got out somehow.
I like
missed
to
that.
think one of his kids helped him out.
Sure.
That's what we're
they
calling them
came in and
now.
were like-
the
Yeah, we
kids.
saw that. We saw them rebelling at the end. We saw them. They were getting away. They started killing people.
Bro, I got
So wait.
so scared.
I have an
Go on,
important
go on.
question. Who's the mother then?
Someone asked
actually
the New Betta's
watched-
live today if some of these are actually like his kids.
I think they
I really
literally
it's
are.
possible.
I think
might
they
really
literally
hope
are.
He
his
literally might
children.
be a father.
There are
of
all
them.
females.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they're-
Where's
Yeah.
Well, yeah, at the beginning he says as well. He's like
brothers and sisters.
brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
or sons and daughters, and it's like
Yeah.
I can't tell which. I don't know how you figure out which is which, but
They're like dwarves.
Yeah,
You can't
It's
tell the
like
difference.
everyone's looking for them,
Can't
and
tell
you're
the
like, I can't see.
yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe the one that was fighting Arondir. I don't. Hey,
I watched
It's
a
the big one,
breakdown
the
about
big bad one.
and it was talking about how we don't really see the female orcs because the orcs are trying to reproduce as fast as possible. So basically the female orcs are just constantly pregnant. Like they
Jesus.
are constantly pregnant. They're kept somewhere else. I don't know if that's in the books. I don't know where that comes from, but I thought that was an interesting theory that somebody else had come up with.
It says the orcs multiply like flies. So that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, and after the manner of men. So, you know. You know.
I just don't want to imagine it. Like I don't want to think about it.
I
No,
want
no,
a
no one
scene.
does.
I want an orc sex scene. I'm saying it now.
What?
By the
Guys.
final
That
episode,
turned
I
dark. All right, Kelly, that's it for me.
All right, that was a great
Yes,
episode,
I'm out.
everybody.
Goodbye. Apparently, in a letter, it was confirmed that there were female orcs, but they did not travel often or went to war actively like often. It seems they're either probably. So I don't know what that means, but apparently this was confirmed in a letter between Tolkien and someone else, and Mr. Munby.
I think you know what that means, my friend. Yeah, I think we know what that means.
Yeah, we don't need visual proof.
They
Alright.
they stick on some Careless Whisper, some Wham. Get it on.
Hey,
Anyway,
everyone
guys.
has their
Jared's
own
getting on that
favorite.
plane.
I wish Adar had some trolls with him, to be honest. I know they're not orcs, they're not tortures elves, but I wish he may brought like a few with them from Sauron's fortress. That would have been cool to see,
That
but
would've been
he's
dope.
only really got
Maybe
orcs.
in the future.
There's trolls around and stuff. There'll be some cool stuff they have around. You see, they had the warg, so
We saw a
we'll-
snow
we'll see.
troll. That
We'll
wasn't
see.
canon like before this, right? Like we
Yeah,
didn't really
because
know
they
much.
can't call them cave. They can't do the same names that's in the thing. They can't call them. So whatever. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it'll be really interesting. I think we finally hit our stride, and we're gonna have a great 7 and 8, and they're gonna be really eye-opening, surprising, and a lot of my theories are gonna be confirmed, and people are gonna eat a lot of their words. No, I'm just joking. I think that we will be all surprised. I think that some stuff will be proved true, some stuff will be a complete surprise, and that makes it even better. So, yeah, I can't wait to look forward to it. But I'm about to go eat because I'm starving, and so yeah,
That's
I
good.
think we're gonna
12-12.
wind this down. Everybody,
Yeah.
let's say our
Thank you so
So
goodbyes.
much for having me.
Oh no,
Yeah,
it
this
was
was fun.
awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Real quick
Absolutely.
before we go, we'll get another recap of your socials. Unfortunately, Cat Lovers for Who Won just the other Jared with 1R had to pop out, but I will do his shout out for him. That joining us before just a few minutes before this was Jared with 1R on TikTok as Cat Lovers for Who Won. Jared with 2 R's. Go ahead.
My Instagram is that boy on fire. I do artwork, so if you want to go see some cool artwork, order some commissions or something, go check me out, please. Thank you.
Awesome. Cat.
I'm Cat Jet, and you can find me on TikTok with cat_Jet. That's Jet with 2 T's and Cat with a K. And I look forward to seeing y'all in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining and for your first time podcast. Hopefully this was a friendly introduction to it, hopefully.
Yes, it was wonderful. Wonderful.
Golden Boy.
The Golden Boy. Golden has a 0 instead of an O. Boy with an I instead of a Y. If you like Game of Thrones, you can follow me on TikTok. That's all pretty much I do.
Nice.
All right, guys.
Jared, welcome back. We'll let you do your own.
I'm back for the end.
You're back for the end. Do you have any last comments or questions?
No, I think that's okay. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. Good talking with you
Thanks
guys.
for being here. I made sure they could follow you, Cat Lovers for Who Won.
Cool. Thank you.
Excellent. Yay. All right, that's it for me.
That is it
All
for
right.
me. KnewBettaDoBetta on all platforms. KaliCosplay on all platforms. And Voices of Arda is the main thing you want to follow. Voices of Arda podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, finally, and Google Podcasts. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all those good things. And we will be back with another episode very soon. Very, very, very soon. Thank you all. We are out.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Bye.